What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with a preview for the Honda Classic. Last week at the Genesis, Bubba got back into the winner's circle. What a time to be alive. But we're going to turn our attention to Florida for this week's Honda Classic. Pretty good field. Tiger's in it, which we'll talk about, and how that's going to affect ownership, especially with the Euro guys. Super into some of these Euro guys, some that we've talked about in the past, like Tyrrell Hatton, excuse me, must have hammocks on the mind. But we'll talk about how Tiger actually impacts all that. It's kind of interesting. So let's jump into it. And before we do so, remember this is PGA National. It's a par 70. So we'll talk a little bit about par 4 scoring because there's the two extra par 4s essentially. That's going to come into play this week, but this is going to be a tough course. Like it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to avoid making bogeys. I think I read it's actually one of the toughest courses outside of a major. Going by scoring average, it's also very penal if you hit it into the rough. So we're going to look for accurate drivers. You're going to have to gain strokes off the tee. So let's start here with the cheat sheet. If you are new to this video series, all these tools are available on dfsondemand.com. Okay. Ricky Fowler, your defending champion and most expensive player on the slate. If you've watched this, you know I'm always a pretty big Ricky fan. Paying $11,700 for him, I'm not particularly thrilled about. You know, we paid $11,900 for DJ last week, which I thought was a much better situation. But Fowler does have the course history. He's played very well outside the miscut at the Farmers this year. So if you're looking to chalk it up, it's really hard to argue there. All three of these top guys are probably going to be just fine, but I'm focusing a lot of my attention here on the bottom half of the 10,000s and the upper half of the 9,000s. That's where I think a lot of the most interesting plays come out of. I think a lot of guys are going to spend up to go get one of these guys over 11,000, and then they're going to spend down. They're probably going to add Tiger at 8,200, and you have this kind of dead zone in the middle. So I'll be interested to see what ownership is. Again, it's Monday. I have no pulse for the industry right now, but Alex Noren at 10,100 is a name that, you know, we've talked about this a lot, where Euro guys or guys who play primarily on the Euro Tour do not get a lot of love for DFS purposes from the general public. This is going to be a very general week. Like, Tiger's in the field. Anytime Tiger's in the field, you get a lot of casual fans playing, which makes me want these Euro guys who are going to probably fly under the radar even more. So first one being Alex Noren. I don't think people realize how good he is. I mean, he was awesome at the Farmers with a second place finish. 3 straight top 20s essentially in the last 4 weeks. He's the number 16 player in the world. Like, dude's legit. Okay, like he can play anywhere. My only concern is that he's never played the Honda before, but he shows up in big events, and I'm not too worried about Noren. I think that's a good pivot. And then another guy, Tyrrell Hatton, down here at 9,500. So does not have enough PGA rounds to qualify for stats here. So that's what you're seeing when you see these are blank, like Rory, Sergio, Hatton, Fleetwood. They haven't played enough rounds on the PGA Tour to qualify yet, so once they qualify, these get filled in. But Hatton, I really like. Okay, so let's pull up his game logs and I'll show you. Hasn't played a ton on the PGA Tour recently, but that doesn't mean he hasn't played. So even the last couple weeks of January, he was in Abu Dhabi. He played the Emirates, so a 15th and a 3rd this year. But going back, like, he hasn't played a PGA event. Well, that was a WGC here in October. Basically, since the PGA Championship was his really last, like, true PGA event, I'd call it. The WGC obviously counts, but that's more of an international event as well. But since then, I mean, look at this. I mean, he had 2 wins in October, racking up the top 10s, racking up the top 15s. Like, the dude's at the top of every leaderboard. He's priced here for a reason. Like, I think a lot of casual fans are going to look at that price and go, who is this guy? This Euro player is $9,500. Like, why do I want him? And they're just going to pass, and it's already a dead zone of ownership. And then you realize he finished 4th here last year. So a lot of good signs for Hatton, who will probably be one of my higher owned guys. If you pick between Hatton and Noren. I like them both, but I would probably lean Hatton as well. All right, moving down here, you always get Berger talked about a lot in like this Florida swing, right? And he's played, outside the miscut last week, has played decently during the swing season and the start of the 2018 calendar year. A second place a couple of years ago, but he's going to get a lot of buzz around this Florida swing. Who else do we have here? Tiger. I guess we have to talk about him. $8,200. Listen, you're going to be hard pressed to win golf tournaments if you can't hit fairways. And once he starts hitting fairways, he's going to be awesome, right? It seems like a lot of the other facets of his game are coming around. But this course specifically, PGA National, really penalizes missed fairways. And if we've seen anything from Tiger at the Farmers and at the Genesis, he's having trouble keeping it in the tree line. Like, he's not even close. So if that trend's going to continue, I think he is in for I was going to say a long week, but probably a very short week. I can't buy him on this course without seeing him hit more fairways. If this was like, I don't know, like the John Deere or something where the rough was going to be a half an inch thick or whatever, like let's fire him up and see what happens. But that does not appear to be the case. Continuing down, this guy's going to get a little bit of buzz. So Scott Stallings back-to-back top sevens, and then a 20th place last week. That is pretty good for $8,000, especially compared to his peers. I do think that there are some other interesting options here as well. Kiradech Effie Barnrat, I believe I just pronounced that correctly. He's coming off a win recently as well, I think. I think he just won like 2 weeks ago. Last time he teed it up, the 11th, last week. There you go. So basically, here's another guy coming off a win who I imagine not many people are going to be very interested in. $7,800. Pretty good. Chesson Hadley at $7,700. Really like this one, okay? You can see what kind of year he's been having, averaging 75 DraftKings points. A lot of really solid finishes. Had a 20th place and can I scroll down? Here we go. 2 top 25s in the two of the last 3 times he's teed it up. He's a guy who's really started to figure it out. I like him at $7,700. You get a nice little discount in this field, and the fact that he didn't play last week, people tend to forget about that. Who else might be interesting down here? Couple of high finishes for Graham McDowell, 14th and a 5th. He actually popped up in our key stats last week. Then he finished 26th. Yeah, not a ton of compelling options this low. Let's see if we can find another one. Chris Kirk, absolutely boomer bust. I'd never touch him in a cash game, but I mean, look at this 6-week span where he goes, 3 top 11s. He's basically had a top 10 here in the past. Super high risk, super high reward. Would not touch him in a cash game, but I couldn't kill you for a GPP type play. There's got to be at least somebody else down here, right? Sam Saunders is a guy that we've talked about at the end of last year. He makes a lot of birdies, right? Dude makes his birdie or better is 25%. You can see compared to his peers here, like you don't find many other guys making 25% of their making birdies at that rate. And the fact that he's put together 4 straight top 25s and he's still only $7,100, and he's got a top 15 here in the past, like he would probably be one of my top value plays down here. And then that might be it for the cheat sheet. Sean O'Hare, if you could trust him, it's only a course history play, right? Because he's done nothing this year. If you love course history, which I'm not a huge, I believe in recent form more than course history, but if you're the opposite, Sean O'Hare would be interesting. Derek Fathauer, I guess just coming off the 16th place finish and he's 6,600, that wouldn't be bad. But not so many compelling options. So let's flip this around and go to a couple of other tools. So let's take a peek at the course history. We've got the Honda Classic. Yeah, we got everything set up here. everybody in the field. Here's Hatton. He's only played it one time, so he's averaging 91 DraftKings points. That is obviously the highest on the board. For guys who have played this a couple times, so you do see Tiger. So here's Tiger's course history. It's been a while. That second place finish was in 2012, and then 2013 he had 37th place finish, and then looks like he missed the cut in 2014. Adam Scott I thought was interesting. So we played Adam Scott, or I played Adam Scott last week. Seems to be going through a little bit of a swing. I don't call it a swing change because I don't think it's a huge change, but he's obviously working on things. There were a lot of bright spots and there were not a lot of bright spots, but he's a defending champion here. And I think he was only like $7,800. Like, I'm still a believer that this guy can get around the course. And I kind of want to buy him when, like, before he goes off and goes on a run here. So I'll continue to invest a little bit. I'm not going to miss out on Adam Scott top 5 or winning one of these events. But, you know, there's definitely concerns there. Sergio. So Sergio was in that like 10K range as well. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but I could see myself fading Fowler, Rory, and JT and just focusing on the bottom half of that range and almost not going all Euro exclusively, but they seem to be popping up a ton. Like, they're everywhere. You know, Sergio was what was, okay, I'll do this by year. We'll do this correctly. So here you go. So the last 4 years, he's got 3 top 15s, including a second place. Sergio's awesome. Here's that course history from Graham McDowell. Let's flip over to tour stats here. Oh, by the way, before I forget, I don't have the odds yet. So I'm recording this Monday earlier than usual. So I don't have odds in here yet, which I would normally go through and point out some oddities, some odd oddities. That's cool. That's what we should call this segment. What I will do is, as soon as they're available, I'll obviously update the tool so you'll be able to see them here, but then I'll tweet some out. So follow me. It's at DFS On Demand. I'll tweet out the differences in the odds. So don't forget to do that. And then let's go to this tour stats tool because it is new, a little new this week, and this is probably currently my favorite tool. I added in, I didn't like that I had it broken down by, this tool used to be first round, second round, third round, fourth round scoring. That was when FanDuel was doing like the per round stuff, which whatever, they got rid of. What I did want to do is do something for weekends and for the weekend slates essentially. So what I have here is weekday scoring, which is the first 2 rounds, Thursday, Friday usually. And then weekend scoring, which would be Saturday, Sunday usually. I've compared both of those, and then this green here is what the differential is. So a higher differential is worse. So this is a small sample size, but Kierdat Effie Barnrat is 8 strokes worse on weekends. He has a small sample size. Here's VJ, 3 shots worse on weekends. So you really want to go to the bottom of this chart and see who does better. And not a lot of guys do better on weekends. But Rory's a stroke better on weekends. Adam Scott, Louis, even Tiger's a half a stroke. So you can see there's like 6 guys who are better on weekends. But this kind of gives you an idea of who those closers are. Terrell Hatton pops up again here. Ricky Fowler's on this list. So like, who are your closers? Who are guys you might want to play on weekends? Who can battle in tough conditions? Because the course usually gets harder on Saturday and Sunday. They tuck the pins. They make it as difficult as possible. So who is able to gear up for that? So I think this will be a pretty cool tool moving forward. And then we'll wrap it up here with the correlation stats. So again, if you're new to this, you shouldn't be, but if you're new to it, I look at the last 8 years of PGA Tour stats and the last 8 years of DraftKings results, and we compare them. And we see what PGA stats correlate with high finishes in DraftKings. So this is for PGA National. This is for the Honda Classic. We're seeing a lot of the same stats here week after week. It's scoring average, it's strokes gained total, it's putts over 10 feet. I want to include them because I want you to know those were the highest correlators, but I think I'm going to start weeding some of them out or find a better way to present them to you. The 2 that popped off that were different than usual were par 4 scoring, which makes sense because it's a par 70, and birdie or better, which also makes sense because there's not a lot of birdies out there this week. So let's go through these, but keep in mind, I'm going to try to find a better way in the next coming weeks to start presenting this, but it's still extremely valuable. And it's been really, really good at identifying value and even identifying really good plays. This has probably been the most successful thing we've done in quite some time. All right, so here we go. Strokes gained total, we'll run through this pretty quickly because it's a lot of the same guys that we've talked about. So Chesson Hadley's here again, only $7,700. Ollie's on here. I'll buy back in on him. He missed one cut, and he missed the cut on the number. Did I see McDowell? McDowell's on this list. Sam Saunders is here, right? Guys that we talked about earlier who have either good course history or good recent form, now they're popping up on the key stats. Very interesting. I have to flip these colors around. Green is actually good, but I must have screwed up the colors here. So this is scoring average. Again, a lot of the same names here. Hadley. Ryan Moore. So he started off hot last week. He was in contention for a bit. Only $7,400. That's not bad. Who else? I mean, this one's pretty straightforward. These are a lot of the guys we've seen this year. A lot of value, though. Like, pretty good. Putts over 10 feet. Oh, I keep clicking wrong. You'd think I'd be better at this. Jimmy Walker, who we sniffed a bit last week. Still somewhat of a believer in Jimmy. He's played a lot better recently. Gary Woodland on here. Let's look at Gary Woodland because he won and then he missed a cut, right? This isn't his first event. Okay, good. This is not his first event since the win, which, as you can see, tends to always be difficult for guys to follow up. So Woodland misses the cut at Pebble, did not play at the Genesis, might be a good buy option. Obviously playing well enough this stretch right before the win, and no surprise to see him miss a cut after a win. A lot of guys do that. But he's up here on this putts over 10 feet stat. And then these are the ones I'm really interested in, right? Par 4 scoring and birdie or better, I believe, are the ones that are the most important this week. Or actually, I shouldn't even say that I believe they're the most important. It's what the correlation is saying is most important. So this is not my opinion. Fowler up there, Justin Thomas up there, Kisner and Harmon, pretty interesting. I mean, remember, there was a time Brian Harmon was $10,000. Now you get him at $8,900. Who else? Sink is always up here, Stuart Sink. Pretty good mix of names this week. A lot of times we see the same like 6 or 7 guys at the top. Pretty good mix here. Some of them keep popping up. Ollie, Woodland, Hadley's down here. Pretty good mix. And let's see the birdie or better ones. And I did it again. Here we go. All right. Ollie up here at $8,400. There's your buy low candidate for a guy who missed a cut last week. Kisner again. He was in a couple of these. Hadley, Woodland, Harmon. John Peterson, I think, has a really small sample size. Sam Saunders. Yeah, this is a pretty spread out week. I wonder. There's Oliver. I wonder why that is. Does that mean this field is wide open? Maybe. If that's the case, I like our chances because we're going to take some under-owned players in GPPs and we're going to have a crack at this thing. But there you go. I mean, that's generally my core is going to be Hadley, Saunders. I'll buy back in on Ollie. I don't know what I'm going to do with those top 3 guys yet. Rory, JT, and Fowler. I'll definitely be all over the next tier of guys. Sergio, Hatton, Noren. Now kind of looks like Woodland is popping off the charts. So definitely be all over that second tier. Let me know what you're going to do with the top 3. Nothing against them. I just think there's kind of better options somewhere else, or at least less owned options. Let me know what you're going to do with those guys. Tweet me. It's at DFS on demand. Make sure you follow. I'll post out the odds stuff when it comes out, or leave a comment below. Okay, talk to you guys soon. Good luck.